There comes a point in life where your soul just gets tired. Not tired like you need sleep, but tired of being hurt. Tired of the drama. Tired of people poking at your peace like it's theirs to break. You ever sit in silence and ask yourself, why did I let that bother me? You replay the moment again and again, your chest tight, your heart heavy, knowing deep down it wasn't worth your spirit, but you still gave it away. For free, anger snuck in, frustration made a home in your chest, and just like that, your peace gone. But hear me when I say this, there is a way out. There is a place within you that no storm can shake. A space where you can stand calm and unshaken while the world around you tries its best to drag you into the fire. You were not born to be a puppet to pain or a servant to someone else's chaos. You were created with power, real power, to choose stillness in the storm, to rise above the noise, and to master your mind before it masters you. And once you learn this, truly learn it, you'll never be angry the same way again. You know, most people live life like a puppet, strings pulled by people's opinions, their moods shifting depending on what someone else says or does. They wake up fine, but one text ruins their whole day. One glare from a stranger and they spiral. One rejection and they question their worth. That ain't living. That's surviving. That's existing at the mercy of the world. And the truth is, you can't control what the world throws at you, but you can control what you throw back. You can't stop the wind, but you can choose whether you let it shake you. That's what mastering your inner world is all about. It's about saying, I own me. You don't hand your emotions over like a credit card to every person who crosses your path. You don't let someone else's pain spill into your peace. You build a place inside you that no storm can enter, and you protect that place with everything you've got, because that's your power. That's your home. That's where your strength lives. Not out there, but in here. And the day you learn to live from the inside out, not the outside in, that's the day you start living free. See, we live in a noisy world. Everything is loud. Social media screams at you to be angry. People are waiting to offend you. News headlines are designed to trigger you. And if you don't have a center, if you don't have a deep inner stillness, you'll be tossed around like a leaf in the wind. One moment you're calm, the next you're exploding. One moment you're focused, the next you're lost in some emotional storm that wasn't even yours to begin with. That's no way to live. You've got to build stillness into your soul. You've got to learn to listen to the quiet voice within you that says pause, that says don't respond yet, that says hold your peace. Because once a word leaves your mouth, you can't get it back. Once a reaction escapes you, the damage is done. And sometimes that damage is to yourself. Mastery is choosing silence when chaos wants your voice. It's choosing breath when anger wants your fire. It's walking away when your ego wants to fight. That's not weakness, that's discipline. That's maturity. That's elevation. You ever wonder why the most powerful people in the room are often the quietest? It's because they're not living off impulse. They're not reacting to noise. They've trained themselves to think before they speak, to feel before they act. And most of all, they've learned that their energy is sacred. See, not everything deserves your reaction. Not every battle is yours to fight. There's a kind of strength that comes from walking away, not out of fear, but out of control. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to prove your point to people who already made up their mind. Sometimes silence is the loudest answer. And when you know who you are, really know, you stop letting little things knock you off your path. You stop letting petty people rent space in your mind. That's inner mastery. That's emotional discipline. You rise above, not to feel superior, but to stay aligned with your purpose, because you've got somewhere to go. And you can't afford to be delayed by distractions dressed up like confrontation. But I get it, it's hard. Because when someone disrespects you, your instinct is to strike back. When life doesn't go your way, you want to lash out. That's natural. That's the emotional side of you trying to protect itself. But the strongest version of you doesn't come from reacting, it comes from rising. Every time you choose restraint over rage, every time you breathe instead of break down, you're teaching yourself something. You're saying, I'm not a slave to this moment. You're telling your body, your mind, your soul, we don't live by impulse anymore. We live by intention. That's growth. That's transformation. And let me tell you, nobody can take that from you. The moment you master your response is the moment you become unstoppable. Because now the world can't control you. Now people can act up, but you don't join them. Chaos can visit, but it doesn't stay. You become the thermostat, not the thermometer. You set the temperature. You control the atmosphere. That's when the game changes. And here's something people don't talk about enough. Your reactions are teaching people how to treat you. When you explode every time someone crosses a line, you're showing them where your buttons are. But when you hold your peace, when you respond with clarity, not chaos, you shift the dynamic. People start realizing they can't pull you into drama. They can't shake your center. You become like a mountain, unmoved. And there's a calm in that. There's power in that. Because now you're not just reacting to life, you're designing it. You're showing people what you tolerate and what you don't. You're drawing lines not with your fists, but with your presence. And presence, real presence, that's something people feel. It speaks louder than rage ever could. So don't think silence means surrender. Don't think calm means weak. That's what insecure people believe. But those who master themselves, they know silence is strategy and peace is strength. Mastering your inner world also means being honest with yourself. Why did that comment bother you so much? Why did their rejection hit so deep? Sometimes what angers us is not what they did, it's what it triggered. Old wounds, childhood insecurities, unhealed trauma. And instead of facing it, we react, we blame, we explode. But healing means turning the mirror on yourself. It means asking, what's really going on in me? Because anger is often grief in disguise. It's fear wearing a mask. And when you learn to sit with that emotion, to face it, to understand it, you stop projecting it. You stop bleeding on people who didn't cut you. That's the kind of growth that sets you free. That's the kind of growth that takes courage. Anybody can point fingers. Anybody can yell. But it takes strength to feel pain and not pass it on. It takes maturity to say, this ends with me. That's real inner mastery. That's when peace isn't just a choice, it's who you are. And let me tell you something else. Your peace is your responsibility. Not your mama's, not your partner's, not your friends, yours. The world owes you nothing but gives you everything to test you, and it will test you. Life will come swinging, people will betray you, plans will fall apart, but that's not the question. The question is, who will you become when it does? Will you fall into the same traps, the same rage, the same emotional loops that keep you stuck? Or will you rise into something higher, something better, something stronger? Your reaction isn't just a moment, it's a message to your future self. Every time you choose peace, you're building a better tomorrow. You're saying, I don't live at the mercy of this world. I live by my principles. I live by my vision. And when your vision is greater than your triggers, you become untouchable. Not because you're above pain, but because you've mastered what to do with it. Some of the strongest people you'll ever meet aren't the loudest. They're the ones who've trained their emotions like a soldier. They've cried in silence. They've prayed through their pain. They've turned breakdowns into breakthroughs. And now, when life throws them something wild, they don't panic. They don't collapse. They center themselves. They ask, what's the lesson? What's the move? Where's the growth? And that's mastery. That's living from the inside out. And when you carry that energy, the world starts responding differently. Opportunities come. People respect you. Doors open. Why? Because you've created space for clarity, for discipline, for vision. There's no fog clouding your mind anymore. You're not distracted by petty things. You're focused. You're clear. And that's when purpose flows. That's when power grows. Because you're not wasting your energy on emotional fires. You're building something lasting, something real, something that matters. Let me ask you this. What's the cost of not mastering your inner world? Think about it. How many relationships have been damaged because you spoke out of anger? How many opportunities have slipped away because you couldn't hold your tongue? How many nights have you lost sleep replaying a moment you regret, a moment you reacted instead of responded? That's the tax of a life lived on impulse. That's the price of giving your power away to everything and everyone. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can change that. You can reclaim your peace. You can choose to live from a deeper place, a place where reactions are replaced with reflection, where pain becomes fuel for growth, not a weapon against others. That choice is yours. Every moment, every day. And the more you choose it, the stronger it gets. The more you practice restraint, the more power you discover within. That's the quiet kind of power that can't be taken, only earned. So the next time someone disrespects you, pause. The next time a situation feels like it's pulling you into chaos, breathe. The next time your emotions scream to be unleashed, listen, but don't obey. Because emotions are messengers, not masters. And you are not your anger. You are not your frustration. You are the space that holds it all. You are the one who decides what to do with it. And when you can sit in discomfort without losing yourself, when you can walk through fire without burning others, that's when you've arrived. That's when you know you've become something rare, something whole, something untouchable. You've mastered the battlefield within, and now the world can roar, but your soul will remain still. Do you ever notice how someone can snap at you out of nowhere, treat you cold, act distant, and your first instinct is to take it personal? You think, what did I do? But the truth is, most of the time, it ain't even about you. People are carrying pain you'll never see. They're bleeding from wounds they don't talk about. And the sad part is, some of them don't even realize they're operating from that place. They were never taught how to heal, just how to survive. So now they lash out, shut down, push people away, and call it protection. But what it really is pain wearing a mask. When you understand that, you stop reacting with anger. You stop matching their hurt with your own. You begin to see that behind that attitude, behind that silence, behind that coldness is a story, a scar, a wound that never closed. That's not weakness, that's humanity. And when you truly grasp that, you become something this world desperately needs. You become compassionate without becoming a doormat. You become strong without becoming hard. It's easy to judge people based on how they behave. But it takes wisdom to ask, what's behind this behavior? That person who always needs control, they were probably raised in chaos. That friend who's always distant, they might have loved someone once who used their closeness against them. The loud one who needs attention, maybe they grew up invisible. You see, wounds shape habits. Trauma becomes personality. And if we're not careful, we end up fighting people's pain instead of seeing their humanity. That doesn't mean you excuse bad behavior. That doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. But it does mean you stop taking everything so personally. You stop making someone's brokenness a reflection of your worth. You start saying, that wasn't about me. That was about something inside them they never dealt with. And when you do that, you don't just free them, you free yourself. You stop carrying unnecessary weight. You stop absorbing someone else's storm. Because you understand now, not everyone knows how to love properly. Not everyone's been taught how to be whole. Let me be clear. Hurt people do hurt people. But that doesn't make it right. It just makes it real. There's a difference between understanding someone and allowing them to damage you. See, compassion without boundaries is self-destruction. Just because you recognize someone is acting from their pain doesn't mean you let them project it onto you. You can see their wound and still choose to protect your peace. That's maturity. That's wisdom. That's power. You don't have to shout to defend yourself. You don't have to retaliate to stand tall. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to walk away with love in your heart instead of staying and letting that pain become yours. We live in a world where people think reacting is strength. But true strength is restraint. It's knowing you could fight back, but choosing to rise above instead. Not out of fear, but out of clarity, out of awareness. Because you've seen what pain can do. You've felt its poison, and now you refuse to be a vessel for it. That's the difference between a reactor and a healer. Some people are walking around with invisible bruises. They were never hugged, never affirmed, never told you matter. So now they chase validation. They test people's love. They push and pull and sabotage what's good because it feels unfamiliar. You might love them, but they don't know how to receive it. Because deep down, they don't believe they're worthy. That's what unhealed pain does. It lies to you. It convinces you that good things are temporary, that closeness means danger, that vulnerability is a threat. And until someone confronts that lie, they'll keep reliving it in every relationship. That's why healing is not a luxury. It's a necessity. You can't love properly if you're still bleeding. You can't build something lasting if your foundation is pain. So when you see people acting out, when you witness sabotage, when you feel confusion, pause. Don't absorb it, just observe. And remember, this is not about you. It's about wounds they haven't healed, demons they haven't faced. It's hard, but it's the truth. And the truth will set you free, even if it hurts first. Let's talk about forgiveness, not the soft kind, but the real kind. The kind that says, I see your brokenness and I won't let it break me. That's powerful. That's not weakness, that's mastery. Because some people will never apologize. They're too wounded to see what they did. They'll go through life justifying their damage, blaming others, protecting their ego. And if you wait for closure from them, you'll stay stuck. You have to learn how to close the chapter without their permission. How to forgive for your peace, not theirs. How to say, I release this, not because it didn't hurt, but because I won't carry this weight another day. That's what warriors do. They don't wait to be healed by the same hand that hurt them. They rise. They reclaim their joy. They become the healer in a world full of wounded people pretending they're okay. And that takes courage. That takes soul. That takes a deep decision to stop the cycle, to choose light in the face of darkness, and to walk in peace, even when pain tries to chase you. Now let's flip the mirror. Because if we're honest, we've all operated from our wounds at some point. We've all pushed people away, snapped when we were scared, judged when we were really just insecure. That's part of the human journey. You don't get through life without some scars. But the question is, are you aware of them? Are you healing them? Or are you bleeding on people who didn't cut you? Self-awareness is the first step to transformation. You can't change what you don't confront. And if you don't do the inner work, your relationships will become battlegrounds. Your success will feel hollow. Your peace will be temporary. But when you face those wounds, when you grieve, release, and grow, you become dangerous in the best way. You become someone who's no longer ruled by fear, no longer driven by shame. You start responding from truth, not trauma, from love, not lack. And that shift changes everything. People are not just what they do, they are what they've survived, what they've endured, what they've never spoken about. That doesn't excuse abuse, but it explains behavior. And when you lead with understanding, not assumption, you create space for healing. Even if you're not the one doing the healing. You don't know what it took for that person to even get out of bed. You don't know the war they're fighting in their mind. So yes, have boundaries. Yes, speak your truth, but do it from a place of grace, not revenge. You don't need to match their energy. You need to keep yours. Don't let someone else's unresolved pain become your new prison. Be free. And let them deal with what they've refused to confront. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to step back, let people meet their own mirror, and focus on your own growth. You know what real strength is? Is being deeply hurt by someone and still wishing them healing. Still hoping they find peace, not because they deserve it, but because you do. Because holding hate chains you to them, and you were never meant to live in chains. That's hard. That takes God. That takes maturity. But if you can get there, if you can see someone's wound and not carry their weapon, you win. You win peace. You win freedom. You win you. And no one can take that from you, not even the people who try to break you. So don't become bitter. Don't become cold. Become better. Become wiser. Let their pain teach you how to walk with compassion, but also with strength. Because at the end of the day, your job is not to fix people. It's to love wisely, live fully, and protect your peace like it's gold, because it is. One day you're going to look back at some of the people who hurt you and realize they weren't villains. They were just broken. Doesn't mean you go back. Doesn't mean you let them close again. It means you see them clearly, you understand their damage without letting it become your damage. That's when healing is complete. Not when the pain disappears, but when it no longer controls you, when it no longer speaks louder than your purpose. That's the freedom we're all chasing. And it starts with a simple, powerful truth. Everyone operates from their own wounds, but you don't have to. You can operate from your healing, from your awareness, from your power. And that right there, that's the beginning of a whole new life. You ever sit in the middle of chaos and just crave silence? You ever feel the world pulling at your mind, your energy, your spirit, and something inside you whispers, I just want peace? That whisper is not weakness. That whisper is wisdom. It's your soul trying to tell you that not everything deserves a reaction. Not every battle is worth fighting. Not every door is meant to be opened. In a world that worships noise, peace is sacred. And when you find it, when you build it, when you fight for it, it becomes your superpower. Because peace isn't passive. Peace isn't sitting still and letting life happen to you. Peace is power under control. It's knowing who you are, what you need, and what you refuse to allow into your spirit. It's choosing calm when anger is easier. It's walking away when staying would destroy your sanity. And that choice, that sacred choice, will cost you people, habits, and sometimes even parts of yourself. But that cost, it's the price of freedom. Because when you protect your peace, you protect your future, you protect your energy, you protect your purpose, and nothing is more sacred than that. People will test you. They'll poke, prod, provoke. They'll bring drama to your doorstep, then blame you for the storm. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your whole life defending yourself against distractions that were never yours to entertain. Let me tell you something. It's not your job to explain your peace to people who live in chaos. Some folks are addicted to conflict. They need confusion to feel alive. But you're building something different. You're building stillness in a world that's constantly spinning. You're protecting something sacred, your mind, your emotions, your boundaries. And that means sometimes you'll be misunderstood. Sometimes you'll be called distant, cold, arrogant, but let them talk. Let them project. Because the truth is, your peace makes them uncomfortable. Your calm threatens their chaos. And that's not your burden to carry. Your responsibility is to guard the gates of your mind like a temple. You don't let just anybody walk into your spirit and rearrange the furniture. No, you are sacred ground now. And sacred ground doesn't make itself available to anyone who disrespects it. Here's the real test of your maturity. Can you stay calm in the middle of someone else's storm? Can you hold your ground when everything around you is begging you to lose it? Because peace isn't proven in quiet moments. It's proven in chaos. That's when you find out if your peace is real or if it's just convenience. See, anybody can be calm when everything's good. But true peace shows up when the world falls apart and you still choose stillness. When the betrayal hits and you don't retaliate. When the lies spread and you don't defend yourself to everyone. That's strength. That's emotional discipline. And it's not easy, but when you protect your peace like it's sacred, you stop explaining it to people who wouldn't value it anyway. You stop shrinking to fit inside someone else's storm. You rise, you elevate, you build an inner world so solid, so centered that the outside noise can't penetrate it. But as I said in that room, from the social noise to the inner world, no sound was lost that stood out so clear people didn't notice. That's not fantasy, that's faith. That's what happens when peace becomes your priority, not just your desire. Let me say this, peace will cost you popularity. It'll cost you friendships that were built on dysfunction. It'll cost you conversations you no longer want to have, events you no longer want to attend, circles that no longer feel right. But hear me. You're not losing anything that's meant for your growth. You're clearing space for peace to take root. See, peace and drama can't coexist. Peace and constant validation don't live in the same room. So you have to choose. Do you want to be liked by everyone, or do you want to live in alignment with your soul? Because sometimes peace looks like unanswered texts. Sometimes it looks like declined invites. Sometimes it's just silence instead of arguing back. That silence, that's your healing. That distance, that's your power. You're not being rude, you're being real. And in a world that expects you to be constantly available, constantly reactive, choosing peace is a revolutionary act. So stop apologizing for doing what keeps you whole. Stop explaining your boundaries to people who benefit from crossing them. Protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. People often confuse peace with passivity. They think if you're not loud, you're weak. If you're not fighting, you're afraid. But they don't see the war you've already won on the inside. You've fought your demons. You've cried through the nights. You've overcome storms nobody knows about. So no, you don't need to argue. You don't need to prove. You just need to be. That stillness they can't understand, that's your crown. That's your authority. That's your I've been through too much to go backwards now kind of energy. And when you wear that with confidence, peace becomes your presence. People feel it when you walk in the room. They feel that you've done the work. They feel that your energy isn't up for grabs. That's what sacred peace does. It creates gravity. It pulls in the right people and pushes away what doesn't belong. And that, my friend, is how you protect your future. Not by being loud, but by being aligned. Not by shouting, but by shining from the inside out. Sometimes protecting your peace means walking away from people you love. And that hurts. Let's not lie about it. But loving someone doesn't mean sacrificing yourself to keep them comfortable. It doesn't mean being the emotional punching bag for someone else's dysfunction. You can love them from a distance. You can wish them well from the other side of a boundary. And that boundary, that's not coldness, that's clarity. That's you saying, I choose me, I choose healing, I choose peace. And let me tell you, you choosing peace might be the very thing that wakes them up. But even if it doesn't, you still win. Because you didn't abandon yourself to be accepted. You didn't shrink to fit. You didn't let someone else's chaos become your normal. You chose peace, and that's sacred, that's holy. That's grown folk living. So cry if you must. Grieve what's lost. But don't you dare feel guilty for choosing you. Don't you dare apologize for putting your mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being first. That's not selfish. That's survival. Sometimes the greatest pain doesn't come from what someone did. It comes from what you expected them to do. We get hurt not because people failed us, but because they didn't live up to the version we created in our minds. We imagined loyalty and they gave us silence. We imagined effort and they gave us excuses. And now we're left wounded, not just by what happened, but by the gap between reality and fantasy. But hear me. People are not who you want them to be. They are not who you wish they were. They are who they show you they are. Your healing begins the moment you stop trying to paint over red flags with pretty colors. Your peace begins when you stop assigning roles to people who were never meant to play them. Let them be who they are, even if it shatters your expectations. Because what's real may hurt for a moment, but illusions will destroy you for a lifetime. Expectations are heavy. We place them on people like armor, hoping they'll protect us from disappointment. But the truth is, expectations often set us up to be let down. Not because people are cruel, but because they never agreed to the role we gave them in our story. You expected a friend and they acted like a stranger. You expected love and they gave you confusion. But maybe it's not their betrayal that's hurting you. Maybe it's your refusal to accept who they've always been, that version of them you fell in love with. That version might have only existed in your mind. And that's not to shame you, that's to free you. Because when you finally say, this is who they are, not who I hoped they'd be, that's the beginning of liberation. That's when you stop bleeding over what you thought and start healing over what is. It's time to detach, not from love, not from compassion, but from expectation. It's time to stop making people's choices about your worth. You can give your all and still not be appreciated. You can show up fully and still be left standing alone. And that doesn't mean you were too much. It doesn't mean you were wrong. It just means you were hoping someone would value you in a way they never learned to value themselves. That kind of pain runs deep. But trying to rewrite their character won't change the ending. It only delays your healing. You don't have to stop caring. You just have to stop carrying the weight of who they're not. Because freedom is found not in changing people, but in releasing them. You will drive yourself insane trying to make someone see your heart when they've already decided what they want to believe. And listen, if someone wanted to understand you, they would. If they valued your presence, they would protect it. But you can't teach someone to love you through the lens you see them in. That's a reflection of your soul, not theirs. And maybe that's the most painful part, realizing that while you saw gold, they saw nothing special. You thought you were building a connection, and they were passing time. But now that you know, what will you do with that truth? Will you keep rewriting the script in your head? Or will you finally walk away from the fantasy and embrace what's real? Sometimes the hardest thing you'll ever do is accept that someone simply doesn't feel about you the way you feel about them. They don't care how deep you go. They don't care how loyal you are. And that's not your failure. That's just their truth. Stop waiting for them to wake up. Stop holding on for the apology, the moment, the change. That's not coming. And if it ever does, it won't be when you're stuck in expectation. It'll be when you've already let go, because that's the paradox. When you finally stop needing closure, you find peace. When you finally stop chasing the version of them you dreamed up, you meet yourself. There's power in observation. Watch how they move. Watch how they speak about you when you're not in the room. Watch how they make you feel when you're vulnerable. People's actions will always tell the truth that their words try to hide. And when someone shows you their truth, believe it. Not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. Because the moment you see someone for who they really are, the lies you told yourself begin to crumble. And yes, it's heartbreaking, but it's also necessary, because that truth, that reality, it's the foundation for everything you're going to build next. And this time, you won't build on illusions. You'll build on facts. Detachment doesn't mean apathy. It doesn't mean closing off your heart and becoming cold. It means learning how to love without losing yourself. It means giving without expecting a return. It means saying, I care about you, but I won't allow you to keep wounding me. It's not about shutting down. It's about choosing your peace over your need for validation. That's a different kind of strength. One that doesn't yell, one that doesn't chase, one that simply says, I see you and I release you. When you get to that point, you don't need revenge. You don't need closure. You don't need understanding. You just need peace. And when that becomes your goal, nothing and no one can control you anymore. You deserve to be seen without begging. You deserve to be heard without yelling. You deserve to be loved without proving. If someone makes you feel like you have to do all three just to be tolerated, they're not your people. That doesn't make them bad. It just makes them incompatible with your growth. And that's okay. You're allowed to outgrow the people you once prayed for. You're allowed to evolve past what once felt like home, because what felt like comfort may have been a cage. And now that you're waking up, you realize freedom has always been on the other side of letting go of what you imagined people would be. When you detach from expectation, you reclaim your power. You stop waiting for the what if and start living in the what is. You stop hoping for potential and start honoring patterns. And when you do that, you no longer walk around bitter, disappointed, angry. You walk around aware. You still love, but with your eyes open. You still give, but with discernment. Because now you're no longer trying to turn water into wine. You're no longer trying to make peace with people who only know how to bring war. You're no longer twisting yourself to fit into spaces that don't recognize your value. That's not arrogance. That's a lie. Let go. Let go of the version of them you created in your heart. Let go of the dream you built around someone who didn't show up. Let go of the fantasy, the hope, the rewrite. Let go, not because they deserve to be free of your energy, but because you do. You deserve to breathe again. You deserve to feel light again. You deserve a peace that isn't based on what someone else chooses. Detach with love, detach with grace, detach with wisdom. Because the truth is, people aren't who you imagine. They're who they are. And when you accept that, your healing begins. There are moments in life when something touches a nerve so deep you can feel your soul flinch, a word, a look, a memory, a silence. It shakes you from the inside out. And suddenly you're not just reacting to this moment. You're reliving every wound, every betrayal, every time you felt small or unseen. That right there is what we call a trigger. But what if I told you that the very thing causing your pain is also offering you your freedom? What if I told you that trigger isn't your enemy, it's your teacher? You see, life doesn't randomly poke your soul for no reason. Those moments, those feelings, they come to reveal the parts of you that still need healing. They come to shine a light on what you've buried, not to destroy you, but to awaken you. You can curse it or you can learn from it. You can fight it or you can grow from it. But if you keep avoiding what hurts, you'll keep missing what heals. Your triggers are not punishment. They are sacred invitations to rise. You don't grow in the calm. You grow in the conflict. Not when everyone agrees with you, praises you, pampers your pride, but when that one person says something that makes your chest tighten, your face burn, and your thoughts race. Right there That's your classroom. And the lesson, it's buried in your reaction. Because triggers are never about them. They're about you. They are mirrors. They show you where your self-worth is fragile, where your past still has a grip on your present, where your unspoken needs have turned into hidden landmines, and you can either explode or explore. Ask yourself, why does this bother me so much? What part of me still believes I'm not enough? What fear is this poking at? Because when you start questioning your pain, instead of running from it, you take back the pen to your own story. And that's when true transformation begins. You see, most people never heal because they never sit with the discomfort long enough to understand it. The moment something hurts, they numb it with noise, with blame, with distraction. They lash out, shut down, walk away, anything but sit in that fire and feel. But the fire was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to refine you. Triggers come not to ruin your peace, but to reveal where your peace was never built on solid ground. They don't show up when you're weak. They show up when you're ready. Ready to face that unresolved grief. Ready to challenge that old belief. Ready to reclaim that part of yourself you've been hiding. Don't fear the pain. Fear the life that comes from avoiding it. Because nothing changes until something is faced. And everything you've been praying for, it might be waiting on the other side of that trigger. When someone disrespects you and it cuts too deep, it's not just about them. It's about where you haven't fully embraced your worth. When someone leaves you and you feel abandoned, it's not just about the breakup. It's about the little kid inside you who never felt chosen. And when someone criticizes you and it ruins your whole day, it's not about their words. It's about your inner voice that secretly agrees with them. This is not shame, this is revelation. Because when you become aware of your triggers, you become aware of your healing path. You begin to parent the parts of yourself that got left behind. You begin to reframe your worth from the inside out. You begin to take power from pain and turn it into wisdom. And the people who used to trigger you, they don't lose their voices. You just stop giving them your power. Now, I know it's easier to point the finger, to say they hurt me, they disrespected me, they made me feel this way. And yes, they may have been wrong. Yes, they may have been toxic. But your responsibility is not to control them. It's to understand why they had so much control over you. That's the real work. Because healing isn't about fixing the world. It's about freeing yourself. It's about reaching a point where someone can say the same thing, do the same thing, and you don't flinch. You don't fold. You don't break. You breathe, you smile, you walk away. That's power, not silence from the world, but stillness within yourself. And the only way to get there is by allowing every trigger to teach you something about who you are and who you're becoming. You were never meant to be a slave to your emotions. You were meant to be the master of your reactions. And that mastery doesn't come from pretending you don't feel. It comes from knowing why you feel. The most emotionally intelligent people aren't cold or detached. They just don't let the storm outside create a storm inside. They've studied themselves. They've met their wounds. They've embraced their shadows. And now when a trigger shows up, they don't run. They sit. They breathe. They ask, what are you here to show me today? That is emotional maturity. That is spiritual growth. That is self-leadership. And every time you choose that path, you step 1 inch closer to freedom. Real, unshakable freedom. Every trigger is a doorway. Behind it lies a version of you that is more grounded, more healed, more unbothered, more whole. But to walk through that door, you have to stop blaming the door frame. You have to turn the handle and enter. Step into that feeling. Sit in the discomfort. Write about it. Talk to it. Pray through it. Because your healing doesn't come from suppression. It comes from integration. And integration means bringing all parts of yourself to the table, even the ones you used to hide. The broken parts, the scared parts, the angry parts, all of them are worthy of love. All of them are worthy of light. And only when you embrace them fully do you rise in your entirety. Your triggers will never stop coming. People will always say the wrong thing. Life will always throw something unexpected. But your reaction, that's yours to shape. And every time you react differently, more calmly, more thoughtfully, more grounded, you rewire your soul. You become less reactive, more reflective. Less controlled, more in control. And you don't just change how you feel, You change who you are. That's the kind of change nobody can take from you. That's growth that sticks. That's peace that lasts. And it all started with one painful moment you chose not to avoid, but to learn from. That's what makes you unstoppable. So next time you get triggered, don't ask, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this awakening in me? Don't curse the discomfort, get curious. Don't shut down, lean in. The world will tell you to toughen up, get over it, move on, but I'm telling you, slow down. Go in, dig deep, because inside every trigger is a treasure, a lesson, a breakthrough, a map, a part of you that's crying out for attention. And when you honor that voice, when you truly listen, you become someone who doesn't just survive life, but masters it. That's the real flex. That's the real power. And it's been inside you all along. Sometimes life will bring you to your knees with no explanation. You'll look around and wonder why things turned out this way, why good people suffer, why hard work doesn't always equal reward, why love sometimes ends in betrayal, and why the storm hits you when you are only trying to do the right thing. And in those moments, your mind will scream, this isn't fair. And you're right, it's not. But this is life, and life doesn't always hand you justice wrapped in a bow. Life hands you truth. And the truth is, not everything will make sense, not everything will be balanced, but you still have to live, you still have to stand. And to do that, you must learn the most powerful lesson of all, radical acceptance. Not because you approve of what happened, but because you refuse to let what happened destroy you. Radical acceptance means letting go of the illusion that life owes you something. It means surrendering to the fact that pain is not always preventable. You can be the kindest person in the room and still be betrayed. You can do everything right and still watch it all fall apart. But here's the key. Acceptance is not weakness. Acceptance is strength. It's the decision to stop fighting what already is. Because when you fight reality, you lose every time. But when you accept it, you make space. Space to think clearly. Space to breathe. Space to rebuild. You cannot rebuild a life you're still resenting. You cannot move forward while clinging to the unfairness of the past. You must release it. You must say, this happened. I didn't want it to. I didn't deserve it, but I will rise anyway. See, life doesn't break you with its weight. It breaks you with your resistance to it. The more you try to force it to be different than it is, the more exhausted you become. And maybe it's time to stop fighting. Maybe it's time to lay down your arms and say, this is my moment. This is my reality. This is where I am. And from that place of truth, you can begin again, not from bitterness, but from clarity. Acceptance doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough about your own peace to stop giving your power to what you cannot change. There is freedom in surrender. And I'm not talking about giving up. I'm talking about growing up. Spiritually, mentally, emotionally. This is not giving in. It's stepping up. You see, some of the strongest people you will ever meet didn't get there because life was kind to them. They got there because they stopped waiting for life to be fair. They stopped waiting for an apology. They stopped waiting for someone to undo the damage. They accepted that the past cannot be rewritten. But the future is blank. And they picked up the pen and started writing something powerful. You can do the same. But first, you have to look life dead in the eyes and say, I see what you did. I didn't deserve it. But I accept it. And I'm not going to let it define who I am. That's when the chains fall off. That's when you begin to heal. Radical acceptance means no longer asking why me, but instead asking now what? It means recognizing that your energy is too valuable to waste on questions that have no answers. Life is not a courtroom where everything gets settled fairly. It's a battlefield. And sometimes you're going to lose people you love. Sometimes the dream won't come true. But that doesn't mean your story is over. It means the chapter has changed. And you have to turn the page, even when your hands are shaking, even when your eyes are still full of tears. You turn the page, not because it's easy, but because you're worth it. Some people stay stuck for years because they're waiting for closure that may never come. But let me tell you something, closure is a choice. It's not something you get from the world, it's something you give to yourself. When you practice radical acceptance, you don't wait for the perfect ending. You decide that this ending is enough for you to walk away. You decide that peace is more important than justice. You decide that healing is more powerful than resentment. That's when life begins to bend in your favor, not because it changes, but because you do. There will always be things you cannot control. People will betray you. Plans will fall apart. Life will hurt. But your response, that is yours. And when you choose acceptance, you are not saying this is okay. You are saying this will not break me. There is a quiet power in that, a sacred defiance. You are not giving up. You are waking up. Waking up to the fact that pain is not the end of your story. That unfairness is not a full stop, it's a comma. You get to decide what comes next. You get to write the rest with grace, with grit, and with God. The peace you're looking for is not in changing the past, it's in changing your relationship to the past. Stop replaying the betrayal. Stop rehearsing the loss. Start reclaiming your strength. Life didn't ask for your permission when it hurt you, but it's asking for your participation in how you heal. Radical acceptance doesn't take away the pain, but it puts it in its place. You say, I see you, pain. You came uninvited, but you don't get to stay forever. That is how healing begins. That is how peace is found. That is how strength is born. So I ask you, what are you still resisting? What are you still waiting to be different? What old wound are you waiting for the world to fix? Let it go. Breathe. Accept what is. Accept who left. Accept what didn't work. Accept that life is sometimes unfair, not because it's right, but because it's real. And when you embrace what's real, you unlock what's possible. You take back your life from pain, from people, from past expectations, and you walk forward. Not with bitterness in your heart, but with fire in your soul. This is life. It's not always fair, but it is yours. And if you can look your reality in the face and still say, I'm here, I'm standing, I'm not done, then nothing can stop you. Not heartbreak, not failure, not injustice. You were not made to be a victim of what happened. You were made to rise anyway. So rise, accept it and own it, because your strength doesn't come from a life without pain. It comes from a spirit that refused to let pain win. When life breaks you, it rarely sends a warning. It just shows up unexpected, uninvited, and unapologetic. And in those moments when nothing seems fair and everything feels heavy, you have a choice to make. You can fight the truth and lose your peace, or you can embrace reality and reclaim your power. That's what radical acceptance is. It's not giving up. It's choosing strength over struggle. It's the courage to stop asking, why me? And start focusing on what now. When you accept life as it is, not as you wish it to be, you unlock the ability to move forward with purpose. Pain may still visit, but it no longer controls you. You're not waiting for closure from the person who hurt you. You're not stuck in a cycle of reliving the past, hoping it will change. Instead, you take what happened and you build from it. You turn pain into wisdom. You turn scars into symbols of survival. And most importantly, you turn your attention toward the future, not with fear, but with faith. The truth is, healing doesn't come from changing your past. It comes from changing your response to it. You stop resisting the facts of your life and you start rising from them. You let go of bitterness. You loosen the grip of what you can't control. You stop trying to force the world to be fair and start becoming the kind of person who stands tall regardless of fairness. That's strength. That's resilience. And that's how you rise. Not in spite of your wounds, but because of them. There will always be moments when you feel like giving up. There will always be chapters that hurt to even remember. But the beauty of life is not in its perfection. It's in your ability to walk through its imperfections with grace, courage, and an unshakable spirit. You don't need everything to be right to make something beautiful from your life. You just need to accept what is, honor what was, and believe in what's still possible. So wherever you are right now, I want you to remember this. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become after it. You are not the pain. You are the power that rose from it. Let life be what it is. Let people be who they are. But never let that stop you from becoming everything you were born to be. Accept the rain, accept the fire, accept the wind, and walk forward, not with fear, but with purpose. Because your life is still yours to live. And your story is still being written. Thank you for walking this path with me today. May your heart find peace, may your soul find strength, and may your mind find rest. Keep walking, keep believing, and above all, never forget, Your life has meaning, even in the chaos, even in the pain, even when it's hard to see. God bless you. Stay strong, stay faithful, and thank you.